will, purposes, you want to see, you know, Shepherd Punch Log more anxious. I don't know. I'm more conjecture about what's in our loft after the LTAT where.
I don't know how much you're gyrating. So why we do this, so we can travel and have a new service that allows you to.
It's well beyond security cameras. This is all types of privacy.
Counted them. You know,
right?
Those guys. Let me tell you what those guys in the warehouse were doing where we are.
Need to get over it because
now
happened that night. But I started to feel weird when the first night.
Because we want to let you know that you can grab.
You made it really, if you wanted to.
Ultimately.
Sex in front of our children.
Exactly.
Psychology, that it can.
So it wasn't uncommon for people to choose to have sex outdoors, but this is Greg's thoughts and I tend to agree. And they can,
which is, we care so much
to privacy in either Facebook or Google. And as a result, we've got a bed. My nephew putting in.
There's that fact, it was just part either 5 hours or days worth of. Is that an inalienable right?
Well, maybe, but okay.
And I'm like, they're having this to it. Like, Christy has an element
of a preoccupation with privacy that then, I don't know.
Okay, and then I'll
have rendered necessary some retreat from the world and man under the refining influence of culture. But before we
and I will add one more thing because we're all starting to have this happens. I don't even know if Christy's at home, and I looked and
weird. Apple has a very different approach, and the closer we get to diverting off,
so I bought 3. So I bought a.
Situations, okay, for instance, let's just say that and I'm gonna quit using
seen privacy.
Kids, you should be like, yeah, we've got cameras. Great. We don't do that anymore.
We're that successful.
So if you could
practically speaking, it was very hard to be private.
And hacks
ago.
Because you just checked. National Hygiene Council or Hygiene Congress in Brussels, which was one of my favorite historical events.
But bedding down situation you've ever been in.
And then finally,
with a webcam that's watching you, and then you get rid of
Dia
but she learns
and the inevitable person. The
off, but you, of course,
and when we're both,
it's kind of like counting the rule.
That's right. We get our own. There is no privacy.
Even then, what's the worst that can happen? Period of time, we can just check in and see what's up, and like, there's a sense of accountability that any.
I believe are in short supply. We're not. Starts a little bit lower.
Our employees in that. This goes
and directed by a collective of intelligence that's not even. I do think that you should tell anyone.
You can kind of check on them, and even if it's not true, it is helpful to paint that as a worst case scenario, and then like how bad it
would watch it, but I would also be like, you know, I might coach Shepherd on his
Nest doorbell. I think it's called Hello. I can't remember, but it's as said, it has access to quoting Google. 70% of actually. I mean, is it about me using constraint or is it about me taking the cameras down?
Well, okay. And my brother-in-law was like, I'm not. I wanted to be like one of those rooms.
You're being
in a bank in a movie.
By
our own rooms.
I 10 of them. It's too late.
And the final thing that until we get up to,
it gives you an indication of
about us as individuals is out there and it is being used.
You relinquish all your privacy again, full circle. But go ahead.
Interestingly, and I will be
by all the corporate
UCLA anthropologist.
You will be filmed if you enter this establishment. Yeah. I have this
concept like there were some examples in
security cameras, and there's been some burglaries in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
less than a second ago in
knobs. What are those knobs called?
Tuning knobs.
When I bought the thing, we're very. I mean, you know, at this point, I frequently ask, "What would Rhett do?"
We've talked about that before. To a place of constant
and we want out.
I think this is
bearskin.
I think this is where we're going. In less and less privacy mattered. The privacy has become more important sort of as we've advanced. But
leave the house, and then I turned on the microphone and I said, "Hey, so you can be a security camera if someone breaks into your house."
Well, hold on, but numbers. It's inevitable. We're all doing it. You can't really function in modern society without. I get a call from Lindsay who was watching. To me,
argument settlement.
Again, I haven't employed this yet because I don't. This is where the tech guardian to go to the tape when I want to, but I'm not going to be like, okay, which is, as a rule, I do not rent
in my own driveway one time. And that's disconcerting. That's a violation of privacy.
We are
full circle
in some weird world returning back to a state over privacy. It seems like anybody could get. I was like, but here's the thing. There's safety in none, but modern invention led to the development thing when it comes to humans. It's just something.
So I said let's jump right into it, and
that's
then we
what
didn't.
Moisturizer's for, though. If you this all comes down to having sex in front of your kids, and you should go ahead and just fascinating thing. And then what is our current understanding of privacy, and then where that the marriage had been consummated. I was rung the doorbell and I didn't hear anything.
I'm in bed, but it's nice to know.
Then I feel like in those cases, I will have every right, once these cameras are installed, the test.
Nobody's at my house right now. I did it right before, and I'm like, look, they're in the kitchen. They're eating something.
Ooh.
And then credit and debit card transactions in the United States.
Mm-hmm. He said, because hunter-gatherer children sleep with their parents, either in the same bed or in the same hut.
Do it. So again, the room. And then Jade runs over and I'm like, hey. And a relationship where you're paying somebody to do it.
In their accounts of the events.
Oh yeah.
I haven't read this theory anywhere. I'm sure somebody else has come up with it.
Said they're not storing it.
Yeah. Infectious diseases.
That's not even functional at this point. Neither are my outdoor cameras that I bought. Dilemma of about
developing understanding of,
or listen to my voice. But I'm still kind of wigging out about this thing, trying to figure
guests. Where else?
Actively, I just don't like to engage mentally in things that I think you were watching me based on people's interest and other profile information, not what camera's like. Hey, that all of a sudden you have this feeling of. Well, a security person.
Where, like Mission Impossible, where you have to go through lasers.
You're being
I got so
Lily, and I was just.
Now, in the case where there is some sort of incident, you have one of those on your front.
I assert that that's the truth.
Well,
I'm gonna hire an electrician to do all of that because.
But I might just say
it's in the hips. I think
I might say, guys, listen, this is ridiculous. Is going to see that there are cameras. There's going to be cameras on the outside. There's going to be cameras on the inside. A total of 10. So. Obviously, you've got modern examples.
But then if you go back to,
angry at inanimate objects.
That's my voice gets a little bit low. And then it's like, it could be a pet cam, or obviously,
is humanity's natural state.
What's the weirdest?
Shepard had a lot of Halloween candy. Locke didn't have any, and he just wanted. It's like it would subconscious. No, but I'm thinking out loud here. Logistical.
How long have you?
So you basically had a bed with. This seems a little bit nuts, right, to us, because we have room. Exactly. So now, in the case, absolutely makes your skin crawl, as it should if you're a healthy person, the way that we are, and that's why likely that we will destroy ourselves. We got her this open to changing, and maybe in their presence. If it was a friend who was coming to house sit, be like. If it's two adults, if it's me and Jesse, I think we both have to agree that we're going to go to living throughout history had medieval times, which is not that long ago. Newlyweds climb. It's like you need 10 cameras.
Are these Nest cameras?
Rooms. Track us.
Jump in.
Unless we destroy ourselves, which is very. So you.
But if you and I get in a heated.
At that point, we basically become in.
They got us by the.
In my home. I haven't been, but I saw, and then I think basically the historical understanding of privacy is the concept of the individual bed really started to take off. Even your own, but they're being shared.
Stays there, like she doesn't jump on the bed or off the bed. It's a wiener dog thing for their back.
But let's talk about.
But it's totally legal because it's a.
These companies know about you. And I read an article where your biscuit in its entirety, and make sure you don't miss an episode. Follow the links in the description.
Sunglasses stolen from my own driveway, from the car world that we live in, and that we type in, and that we operate in, and that we live late to these issues of privacy.
Be listening. To hear this, the well-being of workers depend, the health of the public, and the security of society.
On TV in your room.
Right. because any would-be booger, as you said,
just because I'm peeping Tom, and I said, even though I do have a practice of that, I guess I may have a problem, but
the birthday and social security number, idea of being in a place where ultimately your thoughts are not even.
And then,
okay, well,
but I didn't say anything, or
Coach Gage.
You broke your toe.
Then I was mad at myself.
So,
a guy named Sam Altman, who is the Looped co-founder.
Our characters worked through it, so can we. But I felt forced.
And so then you create one account and then basically.
I'm bragging about I bought 3 cameras. But then the larger question of how I am curious how you kids wearing my prescriptions in a conversation. Let's listen. And then
George's Doobie, editor of A History of Private Life.
I think that was less about privacy because I just haven't gotten around to putting those things up. Too late.
But let's just say you are
like, you know what, we're about to have this conversation. I'm gonna do it one more time and just see what.
Outdoors rather than in the same room, if possible. So in Dances with Wolves, who's a friend, usually you're gonna be not ever making them again.
Is reading details what researchers call the privacy paradox.
Study.
Contemporary.
We will do it, as has been demonstrated by history. But we have a problem. We value.
I've already recorded you and it's already been sent to them. I have to start having a discussion and purchase a bunch of yet we keep giving our information away.
The return that you'll get from Apple when you find out what they know about you, and again, I don't know how to do that. Look at
Cloud.
Yep.
Hey, I told her why I was doing it for a podcast. It's that moment that your husband comes over the web, feel a little bit better about it.
I just said, just have a credit monitoring. Well, I have a wide discussions. So obviously,
meaning looser privacy settings and more acceptance of just willing.
Therefore, it is primarily a deterrent. This week at the Round Table of Dim Lighting, we are exploring the question.
So it's like an extended. Start with season 2. Don't
have a chance. Catch us up to modern society, because I think this is one
job. We have cameras here for security purposes.
Our voices. Even know, well, it's not like we'll go to the other rooms.
Well,
that's why I've got 10 cameras in the bed, but then the family was all standing outside the bed. It does.
Healthy, but me deciding to buy things is therapeutic.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be. But when I get these 10, maybe I'll go 12 cameras.
She just hasn't done it yet.
Right.
So here I am, the only one.
I'm going with 10 cameras.
And it just, I hear you saying.
All right.
Importantly, make me
contemplation of writings, most often religious ones like the Bible. However, this was an elite find.
Yeah. When I put Jade somewhere, she's still.
The couple is getting ready to do it in the bed.
Been watching me. That's it and manipulated, judged. You're hiring somebody to do a job, and I love.
When your Wi-Fi goes down.
Yeah, where it was like the article. Google
simulation and holding hands with your best friend was where, in fact, cool. Or instinctual. But my kids will know. And loft.
The lotion loft.
Oh, there's
a lonely. Don't laugh at our own joke.
It was good. I mean, when we came up with that, I was like, this is great.
It out. So I think these are the questions.
The coach.
Time.
They're not stretching, they're constricting. Because tighter. So I think that.
Felt weird. Now, and then today, I was different company.
Okay. And we're going back to do a full body moisturizer every 30 to 45 minutes. You stay loose. We're probably in a simulation.
With all they had was a rug, a bearskin. Wow.
It's exactly where we're going. Little concept of privacy in their tiny communities. And obviously, the further you go back, footage, right? Privacy.
But don't act like you wouldn't.
At the same time, as opposed to do what we did, which was like handwrite to the few schools that you wanted to apply to. But if you want to,
we seek to answer,
as it is conventionally understood, is only about 150 years old. So this was
because it's applicable to the entire digital.
Have like the sheets, the curtains around.
Chrissy and I can leave the kids alone at home. You know,
yeah. I mean, place of us becoming an organism. And individualism is a.
That there's an added level of
where we came from, like the
camera that then when somebody rings, computer's off.
Well, I think I may have talked about this before, but for the eyes of family and friends, and the next day, that's why we have ads. That when you looked at my face.
Look down. She didn't know that it came from the upper corner of the computers are so
now with the printing press, we can take these writings and we can go and
ambient sound from any device to target. You know, it's just, I'm being facetious at that, you know, is it? So keep going.
We are essentially moving to pinal beds in hospitals. Why do it any differently in the hospitals?
But I do feel like I need to suffer no consequence experience of you have a conversation and then you get an ad. You're like, okay, conflict of existence.
And now we live in a, speaking of that.
Exactly. That's so I'm just like, I just don't want to worry about it. I want to live my life.
That didn't work because we tried it. We tried it many times.
A burglar. Again, I'm not trying to sell this thing. They sold.
In the Harvard Law Review in 18, transparency.
But
that has been I'm afflicted by mere bodily injury.
Let us know. And you know what I don't want you to do is just vote doorbell is because it's not wired, it doesn't work. So the new doorbell, what marriage made.
Regardless of the reasons for it,
made.
the practice will sort of say, oh, privacy is not that important. Postcards, postcards of
it's a business where these things happen. Now we don't monitor
opportunity often. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'll just stay completely still, no contact. It's like,
when I think that's okay because I was about to say that.
You are in a financial situation that necessitates sharing a hotel room.
Oh, now you're talking about
of the Ring doorbell. Subjected him to mental pain and distress far greater. How else you gonna sleep? But I'm doing it, I've got a guy. Doesn't mean that they didn't choose to not have sex. Like, I think that in certain
I'm legitimately angry at my doorbell.
Isn't always a thing, but the idea that you're gonna, meaning that we don't have privacy, meaning you have a problem purchasing.
School, we're taken out of the basketball game and you kicked the bleachers.
I wasn't mad at the bleachers.
You weren't mad at the bleachers.
That's a ridiculously a painting associated with this particular quote. Living and given our
Jay starts freaking out and then Christy walks over and looks at the camera. I thought about Buddy System Season 2 because delivered.
We will get out of the simulation. I know me and you tried that there is a discrepancy. Clock's not gonna punch Shepard. A 10-year-old punching a 14-year-old.
Okay.
It was Halloween camp
move that I thought only, oh gosh. See,
who is a guy who pioneered paid geolocation services available.
To watch more.
Here's what I'll say.
Just like slowly turning.
Which led to everybody should have their own room in the house, which is a kind of a later concept.
She sneakily pees everywhere.
Did she have a crate cam?
No.
Put a Nest cam right in the, and just knowing that there's cameras there, they're gonna behave a little bit differently, but.
Doorbell. Side note, I
minimally review the footage. A preference for privacy, but there wasn't a,
we're gonna have our own, so to speak, placard on our door. I'm just saying that I'm not.
The involved parties led to the essential complete.
I bought these cameras because having security, you need at
least in the context of the CAD, to trust that your neighbors were not listening to you, and they were listening to you all the time. The primary purpose of the cameras, in my mind,
get into it.
Did they just? You got out of the simulation?
We two guys are Link and Rhett, and we know Ear Biscuits. Click on the playlist on the conversation that we're gonna have today because I go on the website to buy this bed and it's
preference for privacy. Family, some servants, and even the things that we like and that we search for to begin to develop a profile of us.
Earplugs.
As a general rule, but I want it to be like one of those.
It's not like they can teleport into any room and bypass.
Honor Society, there's a few of them that are still.
I'm not doing anything that, it's that I'm embarrassed about or I'm trying to, I just can't worry about this stuff. Where our hands are being.
And then started to beat on the door and then beat on the window and then I start trying to figure out how to get into your back.
What you seem to
do
be.
Commentary.
When you,
all I'm saying is that we don't really know.
Outdoor security cameras in my cart, and I performed.
They're not installed yet.
Oh, dang it! Things that even if you're not at home, you can see on your phone. You can see a video, and you can
some electromagnetic
wiring for a proper doorbell, which the Nest doorbell
camera.
Extreme. I've lived in for years. The doorbell. I've got these 3 cameras set up inside of my house. One's looking at the kitchen. One's looking at
not the privacy. but the security, to ensure the security of my
Well, hold on. Actually, it might be cooler to be on the other side, so I might be part of the resolution.
solution push it even further. So basically, the material and moral on my own. I've got time that I'm spending alone, and one of them is individuals, so they can then turn around and
% of websites, while Facebook watches us.
given what we do for to watch one season.
No, season 1. I'm proud of season 1 too. But
watch the second season. You don't need the first.
And there's that scene
Off for us where we see a big change in privacy settings, and you little stuffed dog that actually looks a lot like Barbara. Service.
And I didn't have
like signaling, and we can't really figure it out yet, but we will be able to at some point. Should be.
Okay. Yeah, let's
First and foremost. So you can there's all these examples of the people rebelling against war, 60s, and of course now
you gotta have your
personal policy, which is worth paying attention to.
And if you got a package that shared that with me.
Of this monitoring.
My location, her location.
Case of an incident.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
Drill in anywhere.
Yes.
The conversation must continue.
I think that this would be a deterrent.
Well, did you review the footage or not?
He's wearing, but it's not the shirt that he's wearing.
It's better because it has miniature horses or
family and my belongings. And so there in Greg's article about us, the resistance. I'm not
about our privacy.
Okay, like Greg, I am quoting him. Privacy, well,
I'm not.
No, not really. But you know, and what's going on privately.
A big cultural shift of acceptance of community.
But a doorbell that usually works.
Nilly just letting it into the ether.
Yeah, now we have a best experience for me, man.
You know what, this day, I was out with
your kids walk in on you and all of a sudden their lives are ruined because they see the way that they were made. Christy feels about you checking in on her because she is a product of
over there.
But you didn't even have to say who it was, and
Jacob's over there hitting the space bar again and again. I'm trying to talk about
but the one thing I will
wouldn't that be embarrassing?
Google, he had 150 gigs of information.
I mean, it's for posterity.
So I can watch myself. What kind of privates are we talking about here? I'm sorry. I mean, how
public are we going to get?
Listen to. It's not a modern invention. So as soon as we begin,
it's interesting what's happening now. We're being
children see their parents having
for people to benefit from. Ain't nobody going to benefit from that.
When both individual beds are a modern invention. For most of history, it wasn't uncommon to value privacy. It was being eroded. And it was being attacked.
People would press my doorbell. That's what would happen. It'd be like pressing a space bar with the. Had previously said we show ads.
Examples of just like choosing to do online banking and stuff like that.
And that brings the kid was
knowing that we could be, you know, a friend at a hotel. I mean they're going to be installed any day now.
That's the thing you want for entertainment.
Do I agree that you have a purchasing problem?
I just thought
our general understanding of privacy in modern society
to the kitchen. Listening to my voice over the course of the day. You still got some baggage.
You're bringing up my anger issues from age 7.
And all of a sudden I'm like, I don't.
Right.
Same is true at your house, right?
Yep.
So I added on the installation of the doorbell, which I probably public existence.
You gotta make sure that the door is locked, because God forbid. In fact, the way that Greg puts it is transparency.
I'll kill myself somehow with electricity or wires.
Where you basically had a phone for the community, and you have a clean individual bed, and that's when
I know she's out, and I'm like, I know she's coming back.
Just
by the end of the day, I'd sound like a chipmunk.
Right.
That's even worse than Mickey.
I think from good.
No.
This is for posterity.
That's too much clicking. Is that your
nose?
Oh God. Punch him in the nose.
Yeah. You know, you can.
You want to keep your kid out of college? Then that's on you. You know, it's like 10
I'm going
to
go to the house that doesn't have any cameras.
Again, if they see all the experiment I performed, right. When people say for posterity, what you're implying is that itself will probably purposes.
For me, that are listening. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with information.
But they say
publicly they're seasoned to just dip right into the second season.
Dip in. Well, I don't have anything to hide.
Right.
And I guess that applies at home too. So I pull up. Chrissy leans over and she's like, "What are you doing?"
There's a punch from Shepard to Locke.
Innately feels like a violation. Now you've made an argument. Assistant. I can tell.
And I don't necessarily know what all was going on in the bed, but this.
By the way, that is stupid.
No, it's not. The question, and listen to us. And obviously, like I said, the assessment.
Right, you were mad at yourself.
My coach.
No.
See this in, there's modern societies that have been observed that not a degree is.
You know, your personal privacy. Because, so I don't know what to do. That's a patented power. I started to become a little disconnected. Again, your hand is forced and you have to make the decision. So he had to do it, right?
Of course.
He did it.
Off of a common ancestor from chimpanzees about 6 million years ago.
According to the author, my phone is listening to my conversations, and they don't even need to
enter into writing and thought. And again, this is incredibly recent. This is like literally, of course, you can argue yourself in, but technology is inevitably getting to that place.
But
I think information. So that was when they started saying, everybody chip, you know, there's the matrix, right? Yep.
I feel like
here you go.
We have to disclose
the kids and has become more lay the foundation for privacy. As they're also going to know that, guys. I'm not spying. One is better than the other. It seems right now that just like Alexa or they are
asked for it yet, and I'll gladly teach you how to do it. It's just one of those things. Like download the Nest app.
High value of convenience.
Yeah, we simulate. I've gone on record in saying.
And when I sleep by myself,
out of cameras, because if you can pass any, that happens.
And so
right. Okay. Well, this is like it's also a security camera, and it's one.
When it sounds,
we care about it, but it's the.
You're this collective, and you're just kind of existing in the world of data. You can learn a lot. Your dog is learning a lot. That's all I'm saying. Just depending.
Dating. Heck no.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
You know what? Start doing it now to him. Sex in the Trobriand Islands, Malinowski, which is the invention of. I think we might be able to land at what eventually. I'll let it come when it's inevitable, but I'm not.
I just want to. There's a lot of people that
Yeah.
So it's not as much about safety as it is about.
1984, Orwell's book talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in a simulation, or what at doggy daycare. I mean, first of all, she's a female dog. Second of all, she's been.
Or me.
It's
in our Constitution.
Our
our
policy. Because there used to be like, if you were going to be read something, the way that we do.
Do you send Barbara out?
I put Barbara in her.
See what's up, and there's a level of accountability there. But then I don't need to get tighter than I already am. There are apps that do listen. Of course, I may not want to do that.
Those arguments. Tell people where they're looking at because then they'd rob about the security of my family. At 10 because typically if they're gonna like shoot out the cameras, they've only got 8 bullets.
And I also door security cameras because here, like we have friends over and it's like, what is your dog doing? But are you making accountability that like Christy and I are out on a date, or maybe we're
right now, and that's great. All I'm saying is it's temporary, and it's not even a natural.
It's like here in LA, you walk into places all the time. There's like big placards that say
now, and that is a distinctly modern understanding of.
I go on the website.
Party lines, before there was individual telephone lines. There's not a corner of my house you could go to that is for surveillance. Who's doing the whole thing? Gets a girlfriend over, and I want to see what they're getting into. At that point, I think the fact that
should I put up a poster that's like a disclosure?
There's not one in their bedroom,
There she was.
Humanity's natural state. There has always been.
Let's not forget the government. I'm not one to.
Let's not forget it.
I'm not one.
All your glasses had the exact same eye condition as you. Does it make you feel? DVR backed up on a cloud.
The only thing I have installed is the cloud. I don't have anything sent.
How private are we going to see with what's happened with the internet? It's just been accelerated to the point.
Yeah.
Just a camera on the top bunk.
What piece of candy was this?
I don't know.
You don't even. How controlled. How far does this thing go? So these are the questions. Weird if that.
I would
happens.
obviously feel weird because I'm a product of modern society. Further advancement in a very look like Child's Play, the movie with Chucky.
You're doing it for the singularity.
I'm not going better about them stealing it.
It redeems the entire situation.
You're like a Robin Hood.
But does she have a view?
Yeah.
She has a view from the crate?
But she doesn't watch. Your dog can't jump onto the bed.
No.
My dog can.
That's good information. Now I'm not gonna call or text Christy. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And then I saw that they had indoor cams on a podcast.
Has historically been very concerned about his privacy when it comes to like online banking, internal morality that needed to be brought, most people have
Talking about all this
since then.
Let's not try that again.
But now I'm beginning to think that you cannot get away from my cameras. Related to the cameras or but a different thing.
Company, I guess,
right?
Yeah.
Jared Diamond, who wrote one of my favorite books, Personalities, which is a very shirt that looks like the shirt that Lincoln, they just scolded the child and told it to cover its head with a mat.
When I bought that, well, like sometimes if Christy's not at home, we collectively transform into an 18-wheeler. I'm still the king, but. So then I start putting
the data, you break out of the simulator. Depend on each family's living in a separate, healthy, and convenient home, which it may purchase. Catholic Church. And that was an acknowledgement that there was a private life and there was.
Maybe you can go even further into the future, but again, so.
A super American thing, right? Yeah. But it wasn't just confined to a house context, but there was also the concept of confession, which was, and I want to kind of rifle through a few of them. A
punch. I mean, there's lots of doorbells on the market. I got the Nest thermostat, not.
Also say the next part of it's a wiser choice to not randomly check in on people, right? But when the conversation gets very interesting. Evisceration of privacy. And take the chip, which is happening in pretty significant. Imitating me.
Oh, that's your problem. I'm making your by treating my problem, making yours worse.
Which, anyone can write an article on Medium, but there's a guy.
Cameras.
Indoor, outdoor, front door.
Which I know you have one of those. Ticking off the person at the front door are gone because she's a Dotson, which means.
Sell stuff to us.
According to CBS News article, Google thought I was doing something. He's like, well, I've got 10. We care about convenience, connectivity, everything on me everything's pretty tight, and then I loosen up pretty quickly, and then it's just
immediately starts getting tight again.
There were other people in the room.
Right, what are you gonna tell them to leave?
And also
bed. And make your applications to a bunch of schools. Subscription to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else podcasts are right. And then
about our privacy.
Yeah.
Let's jump right into it.
Jump. In exchange, as a collective, continue to whatever degree we can talk about what you look at yourselves, listen and look at what you did, showing them for a lot of people, which interestingly. Where we started from.
Are you hitting one spacebar again and again?
That was his elbow.
Click. And I get excited. Is allowing access to, but the amount
of beginning of the recognition that
2 double beds, 1 hotel room, 4 people. I think that's probably the biggest contribution
at the place where they stay, because
you don't have to do it.
Well, no one knows that I did that except those who watch on video. And I didn't really do it. I just went.
And, I scroll down, outdoor cameras, 3 indoor cameras, and it hide behind it.
The idea of a piece, and then that turned into some of the research.
But here's the thing.
For all intents and purposes, that was his elbow. He's got tennis searched, and I've only
sunglasses. Ha! Joke's on you, kids.
Unless they needed them. Now, and we're all excited about it.
Voyeurist
now listener is
and know so much about there was probably like some sort of legal ramifications of that. You want
your post-night surveillance, constant surveillance. You might go outside, but that doesn't mean
to dance with the wolf.
It's like a hunter-gatherer community, and just
See?
But you're attendant upon advancing civilization of a religious setting. There was a public
page.
Yeah. Well, no, she's like, that makes nighty naturally, or a desire for privacy to the extent that we do now.
Let's take a little breather here.
And really? I mean, that's the way we think about it. And it's being controlled, experienced.
Posterity.
What do you modern, but basically tribal people who have nobody.
Yeah, that is you're exactly
Privacy. When I go into the loft,
you're lotioning.
I go into the lotion.
Subject to this, I could text her, but she's driving, and I can just. That's a violation.
One of them has
started with the ethics of it. Now, and I'm the only one who has access. I just like it. Bookshelf, like near the ceiling, and the other needs to be signed for, and then they walk away with it.
Forget it. Don't you know when I step out? Speaking of exactly. Backyard.
Because you know I'm in there, and you know that I'm expecting you most.
Right, because you're like, be there at 8:30.
The sponsor. Okay, there's Lando sitting on the couch. He's on Christy's phone.
Text and via.
Good morning, by the way.
And we will. Greg Ferenstein, who has this thing called the Ferenstein wire, which what she's doing. She's just doing hip gyrations.
And I'll just go ahead and state everything, and you can let them know that I was looking at them. And it brings me to, the Time article ever, and I saw some fighter over the course of the day.
Oh.
Like I hop out of, you can know.
We never record after Ford.
Right.
So anyway, that's just sort of my general philosophy that you should get a bracelet that says that.
Rhett was, and they're beating on my window and stuff. It's like, you can break my window down, man.
For you, again,
in it, that
it's just
gonna do it.
Okay. To review the tape.
Did you review the tape?
No, I haven't. There are cameras. Will probably serve as a deterrent, knowing that because it was still something that was happening.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I just don't feel comfortable with it. It timed into bed before.
I shouldn't say guess. Privacy. So this might get heavy.
I'm not saying that I'm not going to be part of the resistance because Morpheus is really cool.
Yeah,
got it.
Like, don't make it the welcome mat.
Yeah, but if you know that somebody's got cameras, I go all over. I don't know. I'll really just stay with me the end. I don't have it in my.
I like knowing.
This is a weird disposition. Yeah, in the modern world, and I think this is where we're going. That is when we will be delivered as a species.
This is actually a source of communication device.
But modern enterprise and invention have through invasion.
Pulling up my Nest cams and where we've got a camera on top of the fridge. Let's just.
As the kids, I have the right as their modern enterprise and invention.
Leave it at that. A bear skin covered their bear me on it, and I bought it.
And this is the same functionality.
Okay, I saw when it happened.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Whatever's the Google
or Facebook or fill in the blank with whoever other corporation it is, and other people say, well, that's a wood grain on it.
But you can grab these Ear Biscuits jars.
Well, then I heard about Target ads. This is still the CBS News article. Facebook,
meaning that having some time,
an advertisement, and so private. Our
very short period of time, 150 years. Are we going in the future? And
I can also listen
upon his privacy
force, but if I am going to worry about something, it's not.
They continue to give us the conveniences, and you can you can actually find both Facebook and Google crazy, and they would write very personal and intimate things.
A violation of privacy is a true. Here's what happens: I can pull up my phone. I can look at my house right now.
We'll provide ways for you to do this. You can find out everything that
the living arrangement forever. We might have
to do the dirty business.
Too late.
There.
It's like a sundial more than tree rings.
They're stretching.
It lets you know what.
No, go to 15 different schools or apply.
Right.
And it required
use the app, or we get to buy the thing so quickly, or we get to
and understand.
Go.
Yeah, I don't really remember this scene.
Got a lot more.
And the people who have all the money and all the power.
Maybe we're doing something overnight.
Meanwhile,
so it's not
cameras you're getting. I've seen my buddies doing. It can wait until after the break.
Yeah, we're just making.
You can camp out on any one of these that we want to.
Okay. We've had to do
We've
that.
Done that. In reading, and you would all kind of gather around and listen. But
instead, I gotta have him.
So, question: is privacy dead?
And do we even
quite a bit to?
Can I talk to him?
But you're making me think maybe I should.
Oh, and there's Christy. She's taking a nap on the other couch.
Concept of I've got things that I'm thinking about. I've got things that I'm reading.
I'm looking at my cameras, and
convenient.
What is the canine?
Is the natural state, but we began to.
We had it, I'm going to bed that night, and of course it's a new toy. I think what you're arriving at is disturbing, but keep going.
There seemed to
happen is we feel kind of violated.
Your vocal cords would make higher.
So I don't even need it as a pet.
Looked at this article, but
between our two characters, my kids had friends over for sleepover.
Right.
And they're
contractor who's doing some other work on the house, who has a guy who just did his house, is like now, and it's interesting because Apple has take a chance that the simulation ends up.
And by buying more things, because I have a purchasing problem.
Not going to usher it in. And I might be part of it for what?
It all started because my doorbell was broken.
Oh gosh.
But given certain circumstances, we in the room.
The personal DVR that I keep in my head.
You're welcome, Matt. My kids are of an age now that sometimes, not every time,
which is all based on data.
Fun and cool and safe.
And even like when to start naked.
No. She was doing something. She's about to. The reason why you have cameras is to.
You don't have to watch both seasons, but if you choose,
Were you making it?
Now, interestingly, and we've talked to our friend of both parents. And it's not gonna be that intimate.
We crate her. Well, don't put it on 23% of sites.
And you can.
It's my life.
Yeah, and everybody does.
I also justified the camera as.
So I'm on the right page. Because the way I thought about this is exclusively works.
Doesn't always work.
Yeah, it's the time that it doesn't work that is.
Would say that at this point. So, you can get worked up about Facebook and Google, but don't forget about at the front door. I'll scroll down just to click accept on the terms and conditions on anything that I've already hide, but it did feel weird that all of a sudden.
He just walked around the house and he was like, you need one there, and you should have one there, and you should have one there, and then all of a sudden done, it's something that I can kind of.
That you're convinced that they're listening.
Yeah.
And I don't even.
And this seems, first of all, I acknowledge the
historical argument that it's cultural is what
that's what.
And you can control what the microphone on your device.
Anybody, I got legitimately angry at you. I don't get
on my wife. I turned it off. I'm like,
yeah, you made the right
this
call.
doesn't seem right all of a sudden because being so public with some.
Mm-hmm.
Our head against the wall instead.
It's just a recognition. It's not a recognition
over there. It's like
so you kind of start getting that in like 40s, 50s, like post. We think about privacy. We hear it. Yeah. Oh yeah, you didn't hear it because it didn't work.
It causes problems.
First of all,
care.
Wow. This idea of personal space and
I'm a fan.
Contemplating things, and I am planning things, and I may be in the early 20th century. People started using them like.
It's like I got to get into the habit of looking at the nest to see what's happening. And I'm like, okay, I could have done myself, and the guy comes out to do it, and then.
Sounds like I'm reading. Yes, I am just quoting Greg. So I'm not trying to sound like loosen it up.
You've got give me the chip. Give me the pill. Whatever it is.
You're willing to would say
and neat.
But I'm dealing with things on my own, and but they wanted to kind of bring that back to right.
Look, she's enabled location services on her phone, so I can look on my phone. Oh, you were mad at who,
coach.
Who rat
was, and there's actually
so that's a big mistake. Or it's not Google. Well, they know, but they're not allowed to say publicly.
Alex was bloody.
Again,
but not when.
By the way, are you casing my house right now?
Yeah, pretty much.
And am I comfortable to disclose that?
But historical examples of tracking the way
because they store. Oh yeah, my dog.
So my dog has to be that is from
talk to him. And if it's
but we know that a lot of information.
The guitar, well.
I got that one in the memory bank as well.
It was the kids. The
technology is
a lot,
but that she can't apply, and neither can Barbara.
Sadly.
Although Barbara learned a lot, it is an assimilation into the footage for. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, how do we feel about that? I mean, it's like you're talking out loud about. There are sites though.
Good morning, man.
We're recording this one in the morning.
But you already knew that.
I'm curious if
safe bet.
I am going to get
90. It was written the intensity and when I sleep in a bed with my wife, I kind of go all the place. When I slept in a bed with you,
you're like a rotten.
There were party lines. Embrace the future. Nope, that's not exactly where I was going.
Use a bear rug, please.
This is a DVR house or a cloud house?
Right.
Now I gotta get the
of a
She's like,
for the what about we got friends over, or my kids have friends over.
so many cameras that you're always being watched.
You're being bamboozled, man.
It's like 1980. I remember having a conversation with him like 15 years ago.
Catch these boogers and jail them. Like get a facial identification of these. You need a alarm.
Well, you gotta have one of those too. I've got one of those already.
The reason
Where is she?
that she's on the couch.
But you
make me have to change my life, my practices, or more.
but you can figure it out. It's like for him, it was a page. It was just a page.
That was actually talk to me about it. That's fine, but I just said my piece. Here's the thing.
I was like, just make sure you have that.
I feel like,
and she humps it. That is the sole purpose of the cameras. The most intimate thing that you can do. It's just crazy, right? Transparency
from Chucky.
Not only are we going to be in a place leading us to a place, and literally the technology will lead us in one point.
Skins.
Right.
But there are cameras here at the living room.
And you're like, oh, we didn't.
I couldn't hear her for some reason because it wasn't connected. And then I called her on the phone later. I was like, do you agree, by the way? Or I know it sounds crazy to many people listening.
No,
no or yes?
And that's probably a healthy thing. In there, we can contemplate on them in private. And actually, the concept of the private life Andy incident, because
you're spending life for people at the door, and it just seems.
Okay, for instance, the other day, again, buddy system, freaking watch it! Oh, we are in a simulation. One last wild theory. An organism. It was within a community.
Get out of my house, and they'll run away.
It's a deterrent as well. So what changed? Why do we think differently about this now? Well, so while 1981, modern society, as is, except for the vampires, everyone who's listening. But in the back of my mind, I know that everyone's gonna be watched. And
I can also talk to them through the cameras.
Let's do it.
No, I'm not gonna. Up a little bit.
And then by the end of the day, you talk like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
A lot of times you
in the face with, which is the ethical.
So this is an article from Medium, an organism that we all came from. This is with another couple, and it usually works.
And Lance standing.
Do you have one in the bedroom? Your social security number and birthday, who's motivated to get it, can get it. Want to defend it and be willing to fight and die for it. Probably just sharing a bed with.
Sure that like once you enter this premise,
noticing everybody's getting sick in these beds. Who knows a lot about these issues?
Gone, because when they're gone
it's forever. Over. Mythical.store.
Thanks for.
It is a record, like you said, for identification place. But when I sleep,
outdoor,
you know, the timeline of
human
of
existence.
The Industrial Revolution.
Starting with, should I get rid of my indoor cameras?
Okay, I have a strong opinion. It would be more successful as a company. They'd have a higher profit if they were taking advantage of the information that's out there. Technique, and our wives as examples, just for the reason you pointed out earlier. I don't want to get them too riled up. I think we are going to a place, we're going to be being
1984, starring Ryan Gosling and that puppet. Well, actually I do, because the only thing I have working are the 3 indoor cameras. I got those set up.
But what about elbow?
Footage in the cloud, and it's not stored locally. I don't want to get into this.
No, but
siren, it's a lie.
I get angry at the people behind them.
So when you in high
punch to the face that drew blood.
Oh.
Okay, I mean, they're McLaughlin's, this kind of, but then it starts to probably butterscotch. Explain. That is essentially a computer hard drive. And at that point, they should have their own house. And then the other cameras were just cameras that looked at the other cameras to protect that. We'll say that they don't.
Yeah, because I mean, Google said we do not use
privacy, which basically
more about something else, like something about consummation.
And
because it's like, oh, now it's on my phone, and this is no normal doorbell.
Anyway, Ear Biscuits jars, a lot of other stuff.
Get them until they're because it was discovered that you had surveillance of me.
All one.
Now it's impacting me, brother.
Now you got to go to the shipping. Everything down to our thoughts, right? I mean, it's soon
in our ego zone, in a digital sphere.
I don't send that one to the cloud. Anybody who's watching your kid
can. I don't know why. I'll tell you what
luxury. So it's where we're being monitored.
I am not a peeping Tom.
Well, let's get back to that because, okay, you being a PP. Many times in the past few years that you've been living at this house, I've showed up at your house.
That's on you because we used to be hunter-gatherers.
On these things that could be read by the mailman or anyone who happened to see the postcard. Reams and reams of it. Will be rebellions, but the general trajectory.
But it's not. I don't want to talk about the chip per se, but you know, it's like, and I don't know, a divider. Well, here's the thing. All of a sudden, now that I have these, here's what I'm getting.
This is just the concept of.
What?
I guess what
Caution
I'm saying
to the
is.
wind.
Well, I guess what I'm
privacy,
saying is.
One who isn't gonna be violated. My privacy. I was probably kill.
You send Jade out?
No.
Is she in a crate?
No.
Is she in the bed?
No.
She's on the floor.
No.
The Money Man's men went up there. And
they came back
who
down.
knows what they did?
Of our lives in, and we're being surveilled and advertised to.
As it allowed personal and private.
It was a big machine. So are you in it to win it?
So I happened in the bedroom, and at that point you don't have complexity of life. Not been influenced by my. And
this seems odd. I mean,
I was mad at myself after I broke my toe.
It's a big mistake, but it's the people who are going to, the bad guys who are going to steal relation. You know, if something feels weird, you feel a little violated. Got to get with the program. I had
5% of modern people in the Western world. Okay, so you heard what I thought my philosophy was going to be, was to not do it comfortable with this. And again, I said the same thing. I was like, you know what? Anybody who wants your
that's not what wouldn't just come out and say
and then we sell it so the kids can have a future. Is to serve as to protect, to be some instinctual.
And I immediately thought, how long?
You get the picture of being in like
day.
I don't know physiologically what's happened. Not only the T-shirt that I'm wearing, not only, then I am there at 8:30.
And then I'm like, point we could be watching. Mm-hmm. It is a little creepy.
Is the default state, the natural state of humanity. Again, a lot of this happened in a religion.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Hold on, they also sell some then they get boost. Do it. That would be so much data if they were constant. And you broke your. Did you make the argument? Just get over it. Are you with me? I just want to. My specific question is,
into public. But it was just I don't know when this is gonna happen, but basically all that's happening in our brain is
things where, don't get 10 cameras just because I got 3.
No, I didn't know how many. It was a very well researched. Wow, it could get philosophical, it could get intimate.
Your estate will release.
So let's just, for argument's sake, say, and of course himself. And
I saw her kind of look around a little bit.
By cameras, but we're gonna be being monitored. Just talking about.
Well, it depends on what you're about to say.
Okay. Or it might not, but that's a teaser.
It might get scary. I'm conversation, a disagreement.
And the functionality of.
Because she willingly.
Different sleeping styles.
I sleep with reckless abandon as I.
Look at Jade during the day?
Well, we have friends who.
She's gonna be a little black dot on the screen, man.
Well. Because I don't want to wake her up.
Fall in love with privacy because when we can make the choice to choose privacy from the computer that is powering the simulation that we're in. If you knew that the person who stole
ripped me and
to have it dealt with, but you started to get this idea that there is 10 cameras.
Well, if they see all posterity is, posterity means that
adjust my technique.
What?
An organism, it's all data. Again, I don't know what the timeline for this is. But I
will be. So that
have,
right.
I mean, you don't have.
But you do. That's about 6 or 9 months old. This
choosing to have sex.
Freaky deaky. Be damned.
Temporarily, your individual beds in hospitals, they had not in our lifetime, but it will happen.
I don't believe, I believe that the brain, I'm just being honest, so I turn it on.
There's been beds. It wasn't uncommon for there to be one large bed where everyone slept. Shows a couple in the bed, and now they did have get to that place. Thanks for being your mythical best. Hunter-gatherer communities. In fact, I got to go somewhere to do this thing. Was just not really. In fact, and obviously
even to the FBI. That's over. Altercations.
Yeah, that includes the entire to then sell things back to us.
And okay, now I feel like I have to apologize for putting you on the spot, Jacob. Jacob's been at home. Again, I have the opposite mindset that you do.
Why do you need to get in the house? Why? Get in the house. People
The house that we,
but the Musk team here, and thinking that statistically speaking,
rings on a tree.
believe I'm kind of on the Elon.
Algorithms and maybe the government.
Yes, you should spend more money. Yes.
So I did that.
Yeah.
And then I
Under surveillance, which is actually not true. That's
great word choice.
I'm glad you picked up on that. Have your own room, you would have done it, but we didn't have that. We didn't. That's not how we live. Exhibit the sheets as proof.
Blood from where? The lip or the nose?
The nose. We're gonna go to the tape.
Uh-huh.
If it's because before they had individual
Spread a disease. Okay.
You know, are you going to abstain?
I remember watching this. I buy cameras and then realize I become a peeping Tom. For goodness sakes.
You said this, I'm sure of it.
Oh yes.
We can go to the tape. You did thinking things, and I'm in the presence of other people.
Much about our private government themselves. Take some work. Drilling of holes from the outside to the inside of your house.
Are you doing it?
A much younger age.
I tend to be a proponent of.
I have this default trust. I value convenience.
They begin to invade privacy. When a kid pitches a fit, when a kid is being a typical ass like they can be sometimes,
they are.
So that's why Greg used it.
Tracking us along with everything else,
which would be a great collab. But great if you want to get it close at that point. But I don't want to take that. It's a valid
by the way,
point.
It's not.
But you're thinking about it. This is a pet.
You agree that it's therapeutic for me to buy things?
Yeah, doing it.
Yeah, your hand is agreement. I'm gonna be like, can we move this conversation?
So you know, the purpose of the camera.
He's been watching me.
Right.
You know, and that feels like a violation.
Also necessitated private beds in hospitals. But the invention of the printing press, again, this is, you know, I'm sure Greg is drawing on a lot of sources.
Well, people feel
it's making people feel uncomfortable.
But the fact is,
I mean, or the corporations, they know that this is the entertainment or voyeuristic purposes. Just
roll, and as a family, we're gonna put some ground rules in place, and then we're gonna
backing up just a little bit. This is not a modern. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I think my policy.
For one night, I logged onto the thing this morning. Well, no, yesterday, justice, and I could be wrong about that. You can talk on it and say, hey, Phil, of the self-driving car is how
chosen to say, at least thus far, that we're going to respect your privacy more. Place that happened because of some technology that that brought into existence. To her boyfriend, it was so easy to do. Let's see how it is. She doesn't know him because he's full Mickey Mouse by that point.
It was just it was a remote doorbell. It wasn't into the Nest company. I would love for you to be a sponsor. But as
far as to say 90
smart with all of your digital footprint, it worked.
But there's another thing about us as humans. Not only is how much
is being tracked, and your
Instagram,
salary and everything, where you are.
Instagram knows me so well. They don't need to listen.
They don't need to. This is taking off the person on the other side of the door. Me.
That is when we will be delivered. That because they're talking about putting a literal DVR in my house.
In the kitchen, just doing something. Just open the door. Yeah, it was unlocked. Rummage through it.
Or maybe when I'm being an ass.
Oh, yep.
Jesse could say, a lot of time printing press.
That way, for accountability. But we could.
We could.
Legally listening. They don't have to do that.
From Hanky Panky?
Yes. Yes. But it's worth it because we get to
the top bunk.
A bearskin coat of some sort. A bear skin. I'll just leave.
All I gotta do is unplug your router and then house, but to me that is the only time in which we can go to the tape when we've got to stand for our right to privacy, because as we begin to introduce, however, in spite of this, actual data that is making up the simulation, you have to become the data, and once you become the
reason why I have a remote
center.
This is not just
or fill out some form.
Scared because I've avoided this question. And don't forget to click the circular icon to subscribe.
Our trajectory of the simulation is that
argument that it's just cultural, and that we need.
Because all you had to do is pick the phone up. It was just like listening to your sister talk. I turned on the camera to the warehouse, their own room, and we'll talk about why we feel the first time I looked at the camera.
Shipping jars.
Yeah.
Right.
To us that for there to be one large bed, not most of history there wasn't a bed, but since
probably some kids. If you feel uncomfortable right now, and it just so
read some Asimov and you get to a place where numbers in Sweden at this point.
Right.
I was mad at the coach. With a bunch of sick people in it, and they started. We have been willing to have intimate conversations via text. My brother-in-law,
audio. That's even scarier.
But their devices, kind of where we're at now. The legal concept of the right to privacy.
But it's pretty easy. But that goes back to the article. Who knows how much that's changing day to day? But and I'm starting to think where I'm going to put them. I'm like, well, I need 3 on itself.
Okay, that's a fair argument that we die off as a species.
Desperate times led to many
few of these things. Just to kind of quick. Most I would go for in my house at all times, and we've decorated the whole house like 1984. Door. Christy will love it. That we won't destroy ourselves. The general trajectory is towards consequences.
We figure that the worst that will likely happen.
Researcher was told that parents took no special precautions to prevent their children from watching them having sex. So most humans
enjoy the entertainment, or we get to connect with people, or we get to share something. All of this was a ruse just to get you to admit that
transparency is 10 different cameras.
Welcome to that I'm wrestling with, that then I do believe
guy explains how to do it, and we are getting to a place in which we recognize that we're beginning to, out of convenience, just open the door.
At least this footage from your bedroom as a new one for being a peeping Tom, okay? It's like to me it's not the government, and many people argue, well, and I'm like, nobody's in that room, nobody's in the kitchen. Oh, there's the living room.
17.
So I decided I'm gonna get a doorbell. It's so complex that will never happen. I mean, before
the guy came over. Well, my
that's not something I find myself personally thinking. I just
obviously have become more essential to the individual. Friends over, and I want to see what they're getting into. But she learned something. I don't know. You brought it up. I mean, by telling people that you're gonna have this incredible security at your home, cameras, and you like
jump. It all started. Rhett would start buying everything.
I should sell those.
I'm trying to loosen in with this.
So as you know, I am doing the same thing.
There was a similar scene in Vikings. You remember that?
So then there's 2 cameras that are still there.
It's uncanny.
Even though they were
under the text screen, and see where she is, see where her phone is.
Well, of course,
stronger point that they know that much, and they're not even listening to the audio. You see the difference? Predict things that you want. And
she's like, Shepard and Locke just.
Sure. I
mean,
like,
we don't have to do it tonight.
If this was,
that's your purchasing problem.
I know this doesn't sound.
We're sensitive to publicity, so that solitude and private, and they are running low. Inventory low. Entire night, where he was making the transition to online banking. Spade, is that the right one for female dogs?
Fixed.
And
hashtag ear biscuits, let us know.
Surveillance that of my family are basically pulled from a lot of different sources to kind of go through some YouTube channel where I do commentary.
Oh God.
On myself.
You implied that
I haven't been thinking about what you're talking about. Thing from some buddies at the date, so we're before the cutoff. But
one study, again, this is still the CBS News.
Let's have the same exact eye condition that you did.
That would be Sarah. Test with Christy, which I'll tell you about. She's not home right now, so I can't do it. Can't do it live. But what I didn't really understand was that the doorbell was.
There was a 24 to 36 month period where you defended the doorbell, and you were like, well.
But it's a professional.
In this article, it basically privacy is something that was not selfish.
At this point, I'm putting it on you. Hashtag ear biscuit would not work, and it still does not work because I haven't called a proper electrician to come out and install directly into a much larger question.
Pretty high level of paranoia and skepticism. Yeah.
Listening to,
I've been awake for 12 hours. And now with obvious acceptance. Distant future.
An 18-wheeler.
Yeah, we could also just destroy ourselves and take it.
Dances with wolves.
Obviously, they would be more successful.
Maybe it was the CIA, I don't know.
They were, right? Yeah, and so I would do it out of curiosity, yeah. I will illustrate privacy.
He's also a freak.
Because then a guy could just break in and take the DVR. Wow. Was it friends or anybody who's legally in the house? That was an anomaly, a blip on the radar of existed. Then we released the sex tapes. And
just come out and say it.
Yeah.
I was hoping you would.
Been thinking about.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because now when Christian has trackers on 76, my damn doorbell.
It could have been a couple, and you go on a trip with them, which was usually done in the context of then could be inflicted. And again, this is absolutely to go and confess something to a priest, to a place where like a beehive.
Right.
To watch more of our daily show, Good Mythical Morning, click the playlist on the left.
My character felt very violated, and it's one of those, this is cool. These cameras are cool. I mean, Lily and Lincoln are responsible to take care of themselves and supporting entertainment. So if we have a babysitter come over, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, and I think that's just,
which we're gonna get into that, but I think that if we take a look, really YouTube though.
When you're dead and gone, you will
do it one time. I used to think that maybe just admitting that it was
revisit any part you want it and use stuff, but I'm like, do ear biscuits, I'm Link.
And I'm Red. When people see that you've got
an added deterrent. Look at anybody in my house.
You see, and this is a speaker at the 1876 International. And then just recently, his son is applying for college, and apparently there is it's just crazy that he was able to talk about all this in the 50s. But basically, he said the magic age is people born like this. Anyway, so you had a pretty intense fight. There was a punch. I mean,
yeah, I can tell how you switched the cool switch turned on. You were like,
that's true, because a lot of forms the way.
And it says, we do it because we reason that our future,
the simulation is indistinguishable from the computer that is making the simulation happen.
You need to come to grips with something that I have been smacked.
I'm going to watch my family and friends because it makes them feel uncomfortable. That the secondary purpose is in the technology leads us. Now, there's gonna be rebellions against this, right? There's already people who are like, I ain't getting it.
And I was like, I'm gonna get one of those. And then I'm like, well, if I'm gonna get one,
separate
but
myself.
You'd go into a closet and you'd shut the door and you'd talk through a screen.
Right.
At a priest to trust me on that.
Yeah, you do have to trust me, but the purpose of the cameras.
But I said, how did you feel? And she was like, well, it felt weird. I mean,
yeah.
I'm listening, but it's just a testimony to how effective they are.
If it wasn't too cold after 1981, that's the cut.
Yeah, I'm gonna slow my
in this indistinguished. Hey, there's cameras, just so you know. I would probably all. And I realize we're talking about having sex a lot, but I think that is state of transparency. My wife and I die. Whoever dies first. To the
that feels okay.
Convenience is limited to humans. We're getting into a place where not only
it will be,
but at that point, once we're born. I mean, I was born in 77, you were born in 78. Is a deterrent and then a record, but not, so I guess not for constant, does sometimes and does some stuff for us.
Before it all implodes.
You know? Indistinguishable, not the case, but I'm not gonna tell you where the secret corners are. But ever, guns, germs, and steel.
But again, I think for me, as I hinted to at the beginning.
Hey guys, welcome. So, today I'm going to be reacting to Cookie Girl. Yeah, and let's just get right into it, okay? Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, so there's a man staring at a screen. Okay. Yeah. And he's noticing there are like cookies on the table and little crumbs. And this is making him feel something, I guess. And the cookies, they're like all crumbled up. So I guess like someone ate them, which I think is a really not nice thing to do to someone's cookies. And they're like leaving this trail. And he thinks it's weird, I guess. He's making these faces. Okay, so he's like following the cookie trail. Like it's going to lead him somewhere. Probably to like the culprit. Oh! Oh, it's me! I'm right there. I'm in the video. I was just laying there. That's really fun. That's really fun. I had the cookies all along. Oh, wow. Oh, that was fun. That was really cool. Okay, well, yeah. I guess that's it. Well then, yeah, goodbye.